welcome back. This is episode 3 of Okay Mom. I'm Lissa Fraser Kerr, and I'm with my daughter, Vanessa, and we're catching up. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm actually doing really well. How are you doing?
Wait a minute.
I know.
Tell me why.
So yesterday I had technically 3 different social Zoom parties, and my little extroverted heart is feeling very full from all the socializing.
I too had a Zoom call yesterday with my 2 very dear friends in my neighborhood that I haven't been able to walk with. And I think we talked for a solid 2 hours. And I think I did most of the talking, but, other people got stuff said.
Nice.
Yeah.
That
So
sounds like a
feeling
fun
this-
time.
Yeah, it was. And yours was too, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's lots of drinking, lots of laughs, lots of games. It was a good time.
Oh, very good. I had a good week. There was a couple of reasons to celebrate this week. First was my mom, your grandmother's 90th birthday, which is a triumph considering 2 weeks ago she had COVID positive. She was COVID positive, but she was symptom free. She never showed any symptoms. She was asymptomatic for the whole thing. So we're very grateful and content, that she made it through.
Mm-hmm. And she's 90.
She is 90. And just as a sidebar, not because I want this to be about me, I just want to say that I passed my 10th rebirth anniversary yesterday.
Yay!
Thank you. I've lived an extra 10 years. It was a close call 10 years ago when my heart stopped in the middle of a test and had to have bypass surgery, which I thought was pretty big until my brother decided to bypass me by a couple. So he had like quintuple bypass surgery years later. So there's something in your genes, girl. You got to look after your heart, look after your arteries. And I mean that for all women, because I was in denial that there was anything going on for about a year. And then I finally decided I should look into this. And yeah, that was stupid.
And scary.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it could have been prevented. I think it had gone far enough along that it was a problem, but I was in complete denial for most of that. So anyway, I'm better now, and my heart's working, and I'm breathing and alive. So that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I remember that day very clearly.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what it was like for you, because I was pretty much out of it for most of the day.
Yeah, you didn't have to really deal with the emotions of it. You were kind of just asleep on a table, and you actually are a zombie because they couldn't, when they took you off bypass, they couldn't get your heart beating. So you were technically dead.
Yeah, a few times. Well, it wasn't dead. I was in cardiac arrest. I didn't have a heart attack. Yes, there's a difference. A heart attack you can feel coming and it's happening. For the most part, women don't have the same symptoms. So it's incredibly important that you listen to your body. And it was I guess he was, I don't know. There was a guy who had to take care of, bathing me. And he said to me with a very thick accent, "You must not listen to your brain. You must listen to your heart." Because the brain will tell you can do anything. And your heart's going, "Well, can we just hold up a sec? Because I don't think I can make it through this." So I think that's very good advice. Always listen to your body, not your brain, when it comes to pain.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and other things.
What? Like what other things? Is there other things?
Yeah, like anxiety. Your brain tells you certain things that just aren't actually happening. Like during a panic attack, when you feel like you're going to die and you think you are, but you're not. You're okay. And you just have to get back to that, convince your brain that, no, we're okay. Everyone breathe.
Yeah.
So just moral of the story, don't listen to your brain. Your brain is
Well,
dumb.
that's not really what I was getting at. Brain be dumb. Gut
No,
good.
I totally just twisted that. But I am very happy that you're here. I'm very, very grateful that you made it through. That was pretty traumatizing, especially because I had just lost my father to a heart attack 10 months earlier.
Yes,
So
that was the scariest, I think. I mean, not I think, I know for you that
mhm,
the thought of losing both parents in such a short period of time. And I mean, we're divorced, we're living different lives, in different places, but he still, he went through quite an ordeal because it was actually a cancer diagnosis and they were going to operate on the cancer. But his heart was in bad shape. He also had artery problems but his reconnected on their own. It was quite miraculous. He said they were just reconnecting on their own so they didn't have to do bypass surgery on him. But his heart wasn't strong enough. So they warned him about going through the operation, but he chose to do it and he came through it okay. But it was very shortly after.
Yeah, it was the night before his 2-week recheck when he was supposed to get the staples out. He had a final heart attack and passed away. So that in itself was really traumatizing because we had been anticipating an issue during the surgery. And once he got out of the surgery and was okay, it felt like the hurdle was over.
You could let your guard down.
Yeah, we had come out the other side and we had been anticipating the surgery for 6 months. The relief of that, and then to 2 weeks later get a phone call saying that he had passed away, was surprising and shocking and all of the emotions. And then 10 months later, I'm on my way to work and I get a phone call saying, no, you have to come to the hospital. Your mother's having emergency surgery and we got to get her in there. And they're saying we have to wait so that you can come and see her because we don't know if she's going to make it. So I picked up your mother, drove as fast as I could to the hospital. And the entire time I kept thinking, I'm going to be an orphan at 22, which I don't think you can claim that at 22, but that's what my brain was telling me. This is it. No more parents. What do we do now? So I am very grateful that you're here. I'm very grateful that I get to have these weekly check-ins with you that we give to the world. It warms my heart. It really does. I was thinking about this week where it's given me something to look forward to every week.
Me
and
too.
I really appreciate it.
I'm the same. I'm the same. And I started, anticipating what we could talk about. And I kind of threw that as a curveball at you because I haven't been, making big announcements or anything, but we're still here. We're still alive. And your grandmother made it through to 90. And it's been a tough year for everybody. And I mean, for a 90-year-old who's suffered broken shoulders and strokes, or at least one stroke. We believe there was another minor stroke before that one, which has put her in long-term care, which is a fairly grim place, but they try to make it fun and they try to keep them engaged. But during lockdown, it was a rough time because they were stuck in their rooms and, we could only visit every time you had a positive COVID paper, a negative paper, you could bring it to them and say, okay, I can go see her now. And it was taking so long to get results. And, the process of getting tested was also grim, but necessary. And now it's becoming more and more accessible to be tested, especially if you're a designated caregiver. And we're having the opportunity to also get vaccinated. So it's a good thing. I feel like I'm jumping a queue, but I also want to prioritize seeing my mom. Yeah.
And I'm really interested in getting into this with you because I think what is going to happen in the next few years or so is that a lot of people around your age group are going to really have to step up to be the caretakers to their parents. And that's not really anything that anyone warns you about. Like we joke about it, like, oh, when you're in a nursing home, blah, blah, blah. But I've never actually sat down and thought about, what happens when you can't care for yourself. And I know that there's a lot of emotions that you go through having to be the point person and to see your parent, especially one who is insanely independent, was very into physical activity and has lost a lot of abilities over the years. So I'm interested to know what that does to you and what that means for you.
Well, it is a stepping up process. You really have to say, okay, this is the situation, and who's going to be the one to look after her? Like when she first had her stroke, she was in rehab for quite a few weeks. And Daniel, my son, your brother, half-brother, step-brother, half-brother, half, I know, step, but okay, so Jessie was my stepdaughter, but she's your half-sister. Okay, I don't know who invented those things, but okay. So he actually, Monday through Friday, he would go and be with her. And that was his job. And it was helping her get reoriented. He was acting as her advocate with the staff. She was getting constant treatments of whether it was physiotherapy or occupational therapy. There was something going on every day. And then her time was up and she had to go back to her apartment because she was living in it was a retirement place that wasn't equipped for long-term care. So we had to embark on a process which is arduous and unfair and stupid and really badly produced. It just looks like a shit show. Like, to get somebody into long-term care, they first want you to have somebody, live at home and have people come in and look after them. And they'll subsidize the heck out of that, for a while. And after a while, that person who's, getting all this treatment has to pay for it themselves, and they run out of money. And it's seniors. It's not, people who can just go out and get a job and make some money. I think Ontario is a mess when it comes to what we're doing with our long-term care. And, you asked that question because in the beginning, because you were raised in a society where we kind of discard our elderly. We put them into long-term care. In many cultures, you just don't do that. That person stays with you until they die. And there's a family looking after that person, and they all rally. And to me, that's beautiful. But when we're in a society where, to support yourself, to have a mortgage paid, you have to work. Usually two people are working. The real economics of it makes more sense for a person to be, taken care of. And in this case, because of the stroke, there were so many limitations. And I mean, they would give money for you to put a ramp in and renovate your entire house before they want you to put a person into long-term care, because then they become dependent on the government for the most part. Well, it's all subsidized, right? Well, it's not. In fact, our long-term care in Ontario there's publicly owned. City of Toronto, for instance, has their own long-term care facilities that are public. And then there's private. And they're all regulated, so they all have to charge the same prices. It's not like one is a luxury place, unless you can afford it. For the most part, people have to have an equal opportunity to go into long-term care based on needs. And it angers me so much that it's a for-profit business, that there's for the ones that, certain ones, that people are expected to, support a board, where I'm watching my mom, a mouse went by in her room, she told me. I was like, what? But they've been eating in their rooms. Because they're in lockdown. And, people, if they're not being helped or supervised throughout the eating process, it makes a mess. And the staff aren't allowed to enter the rooms and clean them like they would normally. And they went without showers. They had sponge baths, like all kinds of things were taken away. And I'm not complaining about the staff. I want to make that really clear. because they are fantastic. They're on the lowest paid of the totem pole, and they are the most dedicated. I mean, the people on her floor, I see the same people all the time. These aren't, you know, care workers who are going off and working, you know, at one job and then coming in every once in a while. They're there. They are, that's their full-time job. And most of them have to take at least 2 full-time jobs to get by. And most of them do. And that's one of the reasons why COVID could spread, because they're working so hard. They're exposed to so many different and more people. They're traveling on public transportation. Like it's a show. And the pandemic has enlightened many people. And I think also people who are my age are not silent about what they are experiencing, because we're the taxed working class of women, for instance, that we work for a living, plus we raise a family, plus we're in the sandwich generation where we have our elderly parents and our kids still living at home, possibly. And we're not retired. That's why I'm saying I'm not a real true boomer, because real boomers are old. I'm not old. So anyway, I'm ranting. I'm sorry, but
so emotionally, how do you feel about this?
I'm pissed. I'm so pissed. No, I think.
Question. How do you feel about caring for your grandmother? The government.
I feel, okay, personally, I'm honored at being able to be with her and to share this time with her. I touched her hand for the first time on her birthday, skin to skin, because I've been wearing a glove and, you know, she doesn't wear a mask or anything, but I'm like, you know, hazmat, my hazmat suit. And now, because they have no COVID in the entire building, I just had to wear a mask. And it was just a whole different experience. It was just weird.
Yeah, so I can't wait for all this to be over. I haven't seen her in over a year now, and it is pulling at my soul, because of all the human beings in the world, she's one of my absolute favorites.
Yeah, she raised you. Well, no, she didn't, but she vacationed you.
Yeah, she vacationed me. She is very much a big believer of you should know where you come from. And being a Canadian, it was her mindset of, you need to know what this country is about. You need to experience it. You need to see it. So once a year, she would take me on a 2-week vacation, and we would either go all over a bunch of places, or we would go one place, and it always involved hiking. And I've met so many different kinds of people from doing it, from the hiking groups, because it was never just us hiking alone. She showed me her hometown. She took me to Vienna.
Right.
And that was wonderful. I got to meet a lot of people that she knew that I never would have known otherwise. And yeah, she's very much, you need to have this experience at least once. And she made that possible for me. And I mean, we'd come back and we'd be so sick of each other, we wouldn't talk for a month. But
that sounds familiar.
Yeah. But I hold those trips so closely in my heart, because I feel like I got to know her on a whole other level. And she's been one of my biggest supporters, even if she doesn't understand what I'm doing in life. Even if I don't understand what I'm doing in life, I say, here's the next adventure. And she would be like the first one rooting for me.
Oh, 100%. 100%. She had a really rough beginning, because she was in Vienna as Hitler was rising in power. And although she was considered only half Jewish, because her mother was Jewish, her father was Catholic, she had to wear a star. She didn't have a tattoo, but she had to wear a star saying half Jew. And there were certain schools she wasn't allowed to attend, and she was taking piano lessons. And even then, there were certain composers you weren't allowed to play. And she would play it loud and clear. Like she was a bit of a rebel. But by 9 years old, they were forced out of their home. So they spent a lot of time literally walking through Europe to get away from Hitler's troops, the Nazis. And the first stop was in Belgium, and it was a town called Antwerp. And my grandfather, her father, was this gentle, kind, soft-spoken soul. And he was an artist. He was a painter. So he had friends in the arts, and he knew the conductor of the Antwerp Orchestra. So my mom and her mom traveled and stayed in Antwerp for a while. And she tried to learn Flemish, which is, one of the languages there, and go to school and still continue to learn. And so she came of age as a teenager, running away from Hitler. So they ended up having to leave Antwerp, and they walked to France. And they went to a town called Lille. And inside was this, part of the town was a movie theater. And all the people who were hiding went into the movie theater. She was literally living in a movie theater for a week. And wow. The young French soldiers, because you have to remember, soldiers were like barely out of their teens themselves. They were recruiting kids, right out of high school, all over the world. Well, most of the world. So they heard my grandmother speaking German, because Viennese is a German dialect. And they were speaking to each other, and the French soldiers freaked out. So they grabbed my grandmother and brought her into a room, put a blindfold on her, and interrogated her in front of your grandmother, which was obviously very traumatizing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, but she was trying to explain, like, my mother had a little bit of English because they learn English at school in Vienna. And I think they were trying to communicate that, no, they weren't German, they were Austrian. But these are kids, like, these are young guys, and, they're, swashbuckling youth trying to protect their town. So anyway, eventually they threw everybody out, and they said, no matter where you're from, go back there. We can't save you here. Just go back to the city. So they walked back to Vienna. The building next door was all bombed out. It was razed to the ground. And in Vienna, you don't live in houses, you live in apartments. There's just, the housing is all in the suburbs, and those are like little country houses. So she was back in her building, but they were hiding in the locker rooms underneath. And all the teenage girls, they would hide them from the soldiers because they were vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And at that point, the city, as the war was ending, the city was divided in three or quarters, can't remember, sorry. But they were in the Russian third, and they were getting food from the Russian soldiers. So they were getting potatoes, basically, and old beans. And that's what they had to live on. And the city, she took me to Vienna in the 70s, and it was still being rebuilt. It was a socialist country. It was very slow progress. But eventually her father didn't go with them. Her father was Catholic. He had to go to a work camp, and they were separated throughout most of the war. So when it came to reuniting, he had fallen in love with someone else and was, determined that, I'm sorry, we're just going to have to get divorced. And in those days, divorce was horrible. Yeah. So,
oh my gosh, I'm getting like a total family lesson here.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I like it. Keep going.
Well, and of course, this is how I've interpreted it all. I'm pretty sure my brothers might have other insights to add to it. But so she and my grandmother decided that the best thing for them to do was to go and leave Vienna, and they wanted to go to England because England would be the next stop to coming to America or Canada. So they did a stint in Bournemouth, which is a seaside town in England, and they were servants. They were maids. So my mom was an upstairs maid. She was about 17, I think. And my grandmother did some of the cooking and also cleaning. So my mom would work. She'd make the beds and polish the silver, which We never owned real silver because she hated it. She hated polishing silver. And this was after the war, so there was no food, but they always insisted that, if there was any kind of a roast, even if it was a little tiny piece of meat, it had to come under the dome of the silver platter. So my mom to this day would say, no silver, no, nowhere, anywhere. She never owned any. Maybe a bit of silverware. So she worked there. They applied to Canada to come to Canada, and it took a couple of years, but then they were sent to I believe it was somewhere in Germany to leave, to take the boat. And boats coming from Europe went through Montreal. Some people stayed and immigrated to Montreal. Some came to Toronto, which was their destination. And, they lived in a rooming house that had other couples, other people who had gone through the war and survived the Holocaust, were neighbors. And we have, my mother and my grandmother had Christmas with them. And my mom was really the only non-Jew in the group, but they had a Christmas tradition, and she followed it from when she was a child, because my grandmother didn't really follow the Jewish faith, but she was in her heart Jewish. It's a culture and a religion. So her culture was that she was a Jew and respected Jews and would fight to the end if somebody had said something against Jews. So my mom had that empathy and love for all people. She didn't care. She was very non-religious, and to this day, she would say she's a humanist, which is not a bad thing. It's just, it's like, for her, it was like, you don't believe in God because people who believe in God are hypocrites. Anyway, that's another whole story.
Yeah, let's leave that one.
Yeah.
On the floor. Let's keep going.
Yeah. So we, anyway, they had Christmas together and started a tradition that every Christmas Day they would get together. And that tradition has been upheld through my entire life, through your entire life. Mm-hmm. It's been through several generations at this point. Now we have a new generation with your babies. So we're just waiting for one day we can all actually get together and enjoy it again.
Yeah, it was really devastating not to have that this year, because the two families that started it, I think now we're on the fourth generation going down. So it's expanded. It's always been an open dinner. Anyone that doesn't have somewhere to go gets an invite. And it's just this jolly giant meal that we have. And we've gone around schedules. We've gone around, because some Christmases I would be at my dad's, so it would bump to the next day because everyone had to be there. So I think other than this year, there was only one year we didn't do it because people were taking vacations over Christmas. And they've returned from the vacation and said, never again. Love the vacation, but I'm not missing this dinner ever again.
I think that's when I was in Nashville or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone had somewhere else to be that year. And we all came back and we were like, no, that we missed it. It's just such a wonderful tradition. And especially for me to have a tradition that is from before I was born. I love traditions. Any kind of traditions that I can implement, I'm implementing. Like, notice how we do this at the same time on the same day, week after week now. I've put you in a tradition.
Great. Here we go.
No, truly, anything. Oh, it's fall. We got to go pick up some apples and make a pie. We have to. So to have this from before I was born, I cherish it so very much. And I know that for Oma, which is what I call my grandmother, she also loves that. Like, she gets to see her friends. She gets to see everyone. And I can't imagine what that feels like, starting this at such a young age. And then to now be 90 and to see it still continuing on. Like, that has to be heartwarming, I imagine.
I think it's more of a relief that she doesn't have to actually prepare the meal.
So she used to make the Yule log that we would have. We still have.
She
For
made
dessert.
everything.
And
she did all the
turkey.
cookies and the whole entire meal by herself, which I was thinking the other day, that's remarkable because Jay and I can't even get through a Christmas without wanting to rip each other's heads off because of the cooking. And she did it all alone. I think I remember helping her with little bits.
Apartment.
Yeah.
In a tiny little apartment. And she would have someone come in the later years. She would have someone come and pick up the turkey and deliver it. And someone would come and grab all the cookies to be put on platters. And she had a schedule. She had it down. She knew exactly what to do. And she's passed on those recipes, which is a relief that we still have them and that it's still a part of the dinner. And I believe it's been divided now because not one person can handle all this. Like she is
for sure.
Genuinely a saint, that Oma of mine.
She is. There's so much else about her that I when I think of raising you and just getting through life in the day-to-day, she decided when my brother and I graduated from university that it was her turn, that she was going to go back to school part-time to get a degree in science. She was an X-ray technician, and she felt that there was a calling to learn more about medicine and ethics. That was a passion of hers. So she went to school for 9 years, part-time, and got her degree. And I don't know if you ever noticed, but she had a U of T ring, and that was a treasure for her. Like she wore that all the time. And it meant everything because she overcame something that she was not able to access when she was at the age that she should have gone to university. And in Europe, if she stayed in Vienna, I mean, you only went to school if you could afford it before the war. Like that was just the way it was. And coming to Canada, I mean, she embraced the outdoors. She belonged to outdoor clubs. And she loved camping. She raised us camping. That was our big vacation. And I have friends that I recently connected with from my childhood, a little group of us. And they're all like, oh, your mom took us camping and she was so quiet and sweet. And I'm like, my mom wasn't quiet and sweet, was she? I don't remember that part. But yeah, we always took somebody camping with us because I didn't want to be out there with just my brother and my mom, or brothers and my mom. But she became a raging granny, which to me was when I think she found her voice as a protester and as someone who, she's never been a victim. She didn't have a good marriage, but she persevered because she had children. And it was impossible to be divorced in Canada in the 60s unless you had money. My dad wasn't going to support her or support us. So she continued to work. He had his life. She had her life. And we all got educated and grew up, and it was a good thing. So she thought, okay, now I'm going to go hiking. Now I'm going to go backpacking. Now I'm going to see the world with a backpack. And she did half of the Appalachian Trail, which is massive in the US. And she's been all over the world because she always wanted to see what was on the other side. That was just an adventure waiting to happen. And she wanted so badly for us to all become hikers. And I married one. And my older brother hikes. But we don't have that same passion. We all love being outdoors and we all love walking. But yeah, so she imparted a lot of very, very good things to us and for us. Yeah.
Phenomenal lady. One of the best.
Yep. Yeah, we're very lucky that she's in our lives.
Yep. Like I said, I'm just itching for everything to be over so I can go give her a big hug. That's all I want.
Right. So speaking of death. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was reading.
This is your segue that you chose? I was bringing it down more.
No, I was reading this thing in The Economist, and it said the baby boomers, which I don't believe I am one. I believe that there's a subset. No, it's
You're a boomer.
I'm in a later group. Our music
Okay,
was
boomer.
different. Yeah, never mind. Anyway, they're going to retire and die. Okay, so what they're expecting is
just straight facts. They're going to retire and then die in the same breath. I think there's some time between the retirement and the death, though. It's not just retire and die.
Well, and look at this whole generation of after the war people, like Goma's age. There are so many 90-year-olds now, whereas, the lifespan of a senior was like in the 70s, like 75, I think was the median age to live. And now it's not unusual to have people living over 100. And that's because, and we can talk about this another time, but that's because medicine has caught up with respecting the human body and the human life form. Because 100 years ago, nobody cared. You lived, you died. Nobody tried to preserve your life or prolong it. It was just a fact. You had a farm, you had many kids because you needed somebody to help you with it. Some died, some lived. Death was much more acceptable back then. Now we've mythologized it and made it weird. Anyway, another story, another day. So they're saying by 2024, millennials are expected to have inherited $22 trillion from their elders.
I'm sorry. Who are these rich elders and where can I find one?
Well, me too, because I'm not one of them.
No.
So, you will not be on the receiving end of trillions of dollars. I just want to reassure you.
Like, where can I adopt a grandmother? I'll add more. There's room. Some people have up to 4 of them. I only have 1 left. So, load me up.
No, you're talking about your grandparents. Oh, no, you're talking about me. I'm the only one.
No, I'm talking about grandmothers. No, I have Oma, but not a boomer. but the boomers are giving the money.
And that's what I mean. Yeah.
What? Mom, do better.
Well, there's this whole generation in between us. Okay. There's the Echo. Okay. Gen X.
No.
No?
Gen X is the ones between boomers and millennials.
That's what I just said.
Oh.
So
I thought you meant between Oma and boomers. Okay. I'm with you now. I'm with you. So Gen X.
Right. Which is Jay, which is my husband.
Also my sister.
No. He's your stepdad.
No, my sister's also Gen I'm aware that my stepdad is not also my sister.
That's what you said. That's what she said. Okay. So yes, your sister, and because these are like wide expanses of ages, like there's a 20 years expanse there. And somebody who's 20 years older than me doesn't have anything in common with me. Like, seriously. Jay and Jesse, I mean, they're many years apart. They don't have the same things in common. She's starting off with her family. He's already raised his.
I hate to be the one to break it to you, but they're only 10 years apart.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because you married 9 years younger and she's 10 years older than me.
Oh, right.
And he's 20 years older than me.
Right. Okay.
I'm really enjoying this.
And I can
see it in your face. You guys can't see it, but her face just went white as she realized that my stepfather and my sister are only 10 years apart.
Oh gosh. Well, and that's sort of a thing, right? Because I'm 20 years older. I'm 20 years older than your sister. Mm-hmm. I was her stepmother when I was in my 20s, and she was still in her under 10s. Yeah. And then Your dad and I had you and Jesse were 10 years apart. And
Mm-hmm.
then we divorced. He remarried, I remarried, and I had your brother,
Mm-hmm.
half
Half.
brother, fully mine.
Yes.
10 years after you.
11.
Okay. Well, probably, yeah, pregnant 10 years after you. So, yeah, there's gaps.
Yeah, we're covering like a whole thing. And then my girls are Gen Alpha, which is scary in itself. Like, why would you call them the alphas? Yeah.
Oh gosh.
And
You watch Walking Dead? Like alphas are not good.
no.
Okay.
And I believe that starts 2010 and it goes until like 2025.
Aren't they the
So
lost generation?
that I don't know about. I do know that they're alphas.
Okay.
And
And
that scares me.
Daniel's called what? Daniel is a
He's a Gen Z
Gen Z. They're the
through and through.
screenagers, they call them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So now
Wow.
that we've got that down,
Oh my gosh.
we're
Are
covering it all, Mom.
are your children my step or my half or my full grandchildren?
Full. They're full. I know it gets confusing. I have a very confusing family tree. And usually I have to draw it out for people to really fully understand it because
Do
there's a
people
lot of
really care?
remarriages.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
have in the past because they want to refer to a sibling or a parent or like they don't want to be offensive, right? There is a time in my life where a lot of your husband's friends would call him your dad. And because I was a brat, I'd be like, not my dad every single time. And to them it was just, oh, it's a label, right? Like
No, to them it was a joke that he would be mature enough to handle a 10-year-old kid.
a bratty 10-year-old
He,
kid at
he's
that.
well, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to get in trouble, but I think all men are 12 and I don't think they go past that emotionally or mentally. I think they stay perpetually 12. It's like dogs are always 3-year-olds, they're yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's
they're stuck in that like tween stage where everything is funny. So the other thing that is actually really funny, and I still laugh every time I think about it, is that your husband is half Jamaican, half Scottish. So he's biracial. And I, as a Caucasian, birthed a redhead. And she knows him as her grandfather's. There's no such thing. You can't explain steps and halves and things like that to a kid. Why would you bother? So she knows him as her grandfather. And all of his buddies think it's hilarious that this half black man has a very pale, redheaded granddaughter.
Yeah. Oh, bless her. Yeah, she's going to have problems. No, Julie Foster, I never thought of you as a redhead with a problem, okay? I just want that for the record. Sorry, that's a shout out. I had two
way over my head.
No, I had two close friends when I was little who are redheads, and they were born a day apart, a year and a day apart. But they were both January babies, and they were both blue eyes and red hair. And striking, like both of them. They were you stop because the hair was just like a magnet. You're just like, wow, that's so gorgeous. So yeah, Lissa and Julie.
Shout out to Lissa and Julie. Hope you're doing well.
They are, I'm sure. I hope.
So I want to talk about something that I think would be interesting to, just ignoring you now. That would be interesting to your generation because I think you don't actually realize how careful you need to be about the things that you say. Because, Lissa, have you ever Googled yourself?
No.
Never. You've never Googled yourself?
No.
See, now that's a problem.
What do you mean?
Because online safety and your online persona can give away so much about you.
Uh-oh.
And you don't Google it right now. We're
I'm
in the
going to
middle
do it
of
right
recording.
now. Okay.
No.
Okay. What? Yeah, say. Keep talking.
All I can hear is your keyboard. So because you were a TV producer, you are insanely Googleable.
Oh, yeah.
Your photos show up. Your name is everywhere. You actually have an IMDb page, which I don't think you are aware of. Yeah, you are on IMDb, and it took everything in me not to post things in the fun facts section for the world to know, because that's a thing you can do. But
I never wrote an audiobook. I don't know what that's about.
That's the podcast.
Oh. I wrote an audiobook, people.
Surprise, we're on Audible.
Oh my gosh. Ew, gross. Okay. Whoa, okay.
Yeah. So PSA to anyone out there, if you haven't Googled yourself, please do it.
Well, I have a challenge that if you do Google yourself, is there a picture of butter tarts on your images? Because I do, and that means something to me. So, okay, Google yourself, and if you've got, I want to hear back if you have butter tarts on your images. And
should we have a prize?
Yeah,
if you do. We will mail you one butter tart.
You can have a butter tart, but I get to choose where it's from because I'm picky that way.
Okay.
Okay.
So here's the fun thing about me Googling myself. Is that there is a Vanessa. Oh, you're in for a treat if you try it. There is a Vanessa Fraser who is a professional runner from Toronto. So she has buried me so deep in the Google that you cannot find me. And it is amazing. There's no photos. Unless I mean, at this point, yeah, she is representing me in a phenomenal way.
Yeah.
And she's got YouTube videos. She's got podcasts. She's got medals galore. She's a fantastic runner, and I thank her. Hats off to her for having a phenomenal name and for keeping my online safety safe.
Oh yeah, you don't show up till like 5 pages in.
And even then, it's just my dad's obituary.
What's the Daisy Foundation? That's not you.
I don't know.
Okay.
Not me. Other Vanessa.
Huh, interesting.
The better version of Vanessa Fraser she's representing.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. I'm impressed. Not with myself.
I'm impressed I'm on IMDb. That's a bragging right.
And the first show that comes up is never mind. It's hilarious. Okay, I want to talk about cookies. Can we talk about cookies for a minute?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're just jumping.
No, but this is important because I just found out through, I have a friend in the US who I've never met. I know of her through blogging and I follow her on Facebook and we're fans of each other. And she's a brilliant writer. And I'm still waiting for the book, Jen Doe. So she was the one who commented that she sits with coffee and chips and listens to us. Well, turns out she also likes Jell-O, and she got Girl Scout cookies. But here's what I had to do. I had to Google U.S. Girl Scout cookies because here we get the Thin Mints and we get the chocolate and vanilla. Do you know how many flavors they have down there? Like to choose from? Well, I don't know, but there's a lot. So they have, like, there's a French toast flavor, which is shaped like a little piece of toast. They have 2 different lemon cookies. One is like, I can't even describe it, but they have shortbread. They have something called a Samoa's, which is coconut and caramel in a cookie. They have peanut butter patties, which is covered in what they call a chocolatey coating, which means may contain chocolate. And then they have s'mores, caramel chocolate chip, toffee-tastic, and peanut butter patty or peanut butter. There's two different peanut butter cookies. I'm like,
Wow.
we are so ripped off. Like we don't get that selection. I was
Yeah,
like,
that's
this
like
is
the
amazing.
Oreos of Girl Guides.
Yeah. So anybody who's listening in the States, you're welcome to eat Girl Scout cookies and also send us some because we want to try all these amazing flavors. Who knew French toast flavored and it looks like a little French toast?
I'm really digging the s'mores.
Yeah,
I want some s'mores ones.
that sounds really good. But I mean, you can get those in, those little bars.
Yeah. I see. The problem is that I love s'mores, but nothing is as good as a s'more.
Uh-huh.
Like Pop-Tarts have a
thing.
s'more flavor, and it's just it's good, but it's not a s'more,
Yeah. Okay. So I think people should have coffee and cookies and chips.
Okay.
What kind of chips?
Is that your order?
Well, I'm just wondering, like, I know shopping for groceries done in the US is like Wonderland to me. Like, there's 45 million different flavors of cereals, and they're all sugar may contain cereal. Just crazy selection.
And it's amazing. It's phenomenal. I love it. Also drink every time I say phenomenal.
Oh, okay. Shots.
Word of the day today, apparently.
Well, that's 4 syllables. We used to give awards for the most syllables on a Monday. So Sunday we can give out 4-syllable treats.
So I win?
Yep. You can have some more. Go ahead. Start a fire in the backyard.
Wait, are you saying some more?
No.
How are you saying this?
S'more.
S'more.
It's S''MORES. S'mores.
Uh-huh.
But the other cookie.
S'mores.
No, Samoas. That Samoa is a place. It's an island.
I'm gonna have to play back the tape because I could have sworn you were saying s'mores instead of s'mores.
No, they have both. They have s'mores and they have Samoas. And the Samoas are the toasted coconut with the caramel.
Okay. All right. Cool beans.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we do a sign off?
Yeah. We have not been brought to you by Manscaped Canada. Manscaping is a new thing, and they have the lawnmower and the. Well, they call it a weed whacker. I think that's so good.
Yeah. We are not sponsored. This is.
That's right. I said we're not sponsored. We're not sponsored.
Yeah, but you're doing a whole ad for them.
Yeah,
and then saying we're not sponsored.
But they have something called a weed whacker, which cleans out the nose hairs. And then the lawnmower is a trimmer for down there. And I think men should have to have razors perilously close to their twigs and berries.
Okay. If you work for Manscaped Canada, can you please reach out to my mother because she really wants to work for you guys. She's your biggest fan.
Right. Well, I think this is a great gift idea. And money goes to testicular cancer. It's not just a novelty thing.
And there you have it, folks. An ad wrapped into one with a perfect bow.
Together you can save balls. That's
stop. The best is I know you have this written down and you're trying to get through all your points and I'm preventing you.
I think I got your face. Ball deodorant and toner.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, but think about it. If women had come up with something and made it fun for themselves, I would be promoting that too. I think that's brilliant.
Okay. All right. I'll leave it. You're new at influencing. I'll allow it. But for the record, this is not a sponsorship. # not an ad. # blessed. I don't know.
# Manscaped.
Okay. So let's tell everyone where they can find us because we just started.
Find us? I thought we were just voices in their heads. I don't want them to find us.
Please don't physically find us, but online you can find us. We just did a Facebook page called OK, Mom Podcast, and I've tasked Lissa with running that page.
Let me turn that around for you. Let's
So
walk this back.
So I can only guess what's going to be posted to that page, but as a millennial, I can't run another Facebook page. It's too much. I like Instagram. I don't like Facebook. I can't do it. And also we have an Instagram account.
Okay, wait. Isn't that like that's something that you should cut out? Because I mean, Zuckerberg is going to be so upset to hear that you don't like Facebook.
I imagine he would be. My opinion matters.
Right. But I mean, the fact that they own Instagram too, I guess, doesn't matter then.
Yeah. WhatsApp, all of it. Yeah. So we have an Instagram as well. The Instagram account is OK Mom Podcast, all one word. And we also have a blog on our website that may be updated eventually. We don't know. I gave you the login information and said, when the mood strikes, pop something on there.
Oh, so I have to do the blog writing too. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, I'll do the editing. You do the Facebook and the blog. But we are also going to post some links of things that we talk about. So if there's anything in the episodes that you're interested in looking in further, hashtag manscaping, hashtag Oma, we'll link to her. You can find those. I'll do a blog post dedicated to each episode and put any links, including Googling my mother.
No, can you put in a link to Girl Scouts cookies?
Possibly, yeah.
In the US.
I think the Americans know how to find Girl Scout cookies, though.
Well, okay.
I imagine they would know. But yeah, sure, why not? I'll do it.
I don't know how this interweb works. I don't understand. He's new.
We just link to stuff. That's it. And you talk about things that the company has no idea who you are or that you're promoting it. So that's fun.
That's half the fun. I mean, if I was supporting something like talking about a food-based product and then somebody actually were to send it, I mean, then that's a successful influencer.
Yeah, blurb. That is true. You should get a P.O. box so people can send you gifts.
Oh, I have a house. Why can't they send it to the house? No? Okay.
We're talking about online safety and you're now wanting to put your address out there so people can send you gifts.
So when I Google myself, I can find out where I am. Okay.
Please don't put your address on the internet, guys. Just don't do it.
Okay, Mom.
Okay. Well, thanks for hanging out with me.
Yeah, this was fun.
Had a blast.
Yeah.
Hopefully something of this makes sense to someone.
Yeah, I hope nobody learned anything.
Well, no. Learning about Oma's journey is kind of fun. I found that really interesting.
Oh, okay. There's one.
There we go. We got one. One person liked it, and it's me. High five myself.
She actually just did high five herself.
You can't just say you're going to high five yourself and then leave yourself hanging. That's just rude.
Okay, wrap it up. Love you, mean it.
Love you, mean it. Thanks so much for listening, guys. And we will see you next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Have a good week.
Wednesday 1.
Bye.